Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops and DeFi University with David and myself, Veteran Crypto. And today we're going to jump right into talking about our next lesson and the DeFi High on DeFiUniversity.xyz.
Yeah, so Mike, I think we left off on lesson 6, did we not?
I believe so.
All righty, man. Well, let's learn about interest, how interest works.
All
And
right.
so I think we got through some of this yesterday. Just some of it. And I think there's definitely a lot more to learn here. So I'm just scrolling on down through the lesson, taking a look at, some of this content here. And I think that we did leave off on lesson 6. And then from there, I think we'll have enough time to get into lesson 7. So let's take a look at lesson 6.
Today, we're going to break down one of the most powerful financial concepts out there, interest. Seriously, it's this hidden force that's either pushing you forward or holding you back every single day. The whole point here is to make sure you're the one in the driver's seat. So, to really get our heads around this, let's start with a really simple question. I mean, we all know what it's like to rent an apartment or a car, right? But what if you could rent money? Well, here's the thing, you already do. We all do. And this one idea that money itself can be rented is the absolute master key to understanding everything from your savings account all the way to your credit card debt.
Okay, so let's really dig into this whole renting money idea. Because once you start seeing interest through this lens, believe me, the entire financial world starts making a whole lot more sense.
And here is the most crucial part. It is a two-way street. When you take out a loan, you pay the bank interest for the privilege of using their money. But when you put money into a savings account, the bank pays you interest to use your money. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You're either the renter or the landlord. When you borrow, you're the renter, paying for a loan. But when you save, you get to be the landlord, renting out your cash to the bank.
I don't know. I
Well,
think that
and
you're kind of,
that's the basis of DeFi.
yeah,
It's is once you have some liquidity, then you become the landlord.
yeah, no kidding. So in this example, as the renter, when you borrow money from a bank, see, if you were to borrow against your own collateral in DeFi, sometimes you can actually end up getting paid to borrow against yourself. So you can become the renter and the landlord at the same time. I think that's really the core difference between actually owning your assets, having custody of them, and not. So when you deposit at a bank, you don't actually own it, the bank does. But in DeFi, if you make a deposit on Aave, let's say, then you can borrow against yourself. You become both the landlord and the renter at the same time. And if what you borrow, you pay less in interest to borrow than what you earn in interest on what you have supplied, then you have a positive spread. You get a positive net interest margin, and that is called interest rate arbitrage. So this can get really, really complicated really fast. But let's continue on with the video concept.
So the big question you always have to ask yourself is, are you paying the rent or are you collecting it? But that brings up a really good question. Why? Why does interest even exist in the first place? Why can't you just borrow $100 and pay back exactly $100 later?
Because of the time value of money.
Well, the answer has everything to do with time. It really boils down to three main things. First, there's opportunity cost. If a lender gives you their money, they can't use it for something else. Second, there's risk. There's always a chance the borrower just won't pay it back. And third, you've got inflation. That money they get back from you in the future, it's going to buy less than it does today. It's like a shopping cart with a slow leak. So the interest rate you pay is just the price for all three of those things bundled together.
All right, now for the mechanics, because this is where we see the real power of interest. The way it's calculated can lead to wildly different results.
So think of it like two flavors. You've got simple interest, where you earn interest only on the money you first put in. It's straightforward, it's predictable. But then
Then you have compound interest. Oh man, this is the real game changer. This is where you start earning interest on your interest, creating the snowball effect that just gets bigger and bigger. Let's look at the numbers. We start with $1,000 at 5%. After year one, they're exactly the same. Year two, the compound account is ahead by $2.50. By year three, it's up by about $7. So you're looking at this and thinking, big deal, right? A few dollars. But trust me, we're just getting started. And bam, fast forward 30 years and just look at this.
Bam! Fast forward 30 years.
$100.
So,
Not bad.
they're talking about like, kind of bank rates and things like that. They're not talking about a lot of the the rates that you can earn in DeFi.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's same idea with all
Yeah.
this.
Oh, no. Same
Yeah.
idea, just the amounts.
Yeah, I mean, over 30 years. That's crazy.
Count, it exploded to over $4,300. That's almost double the earnings, all from that tiny little effect of earning interest on your interest. That is the power of the snowball. There's this great quote. People say it was from Einstein, and it just nails it. It really is the eighth wonder of the world. If you get it, you earn it. If you don't, you pay it. There's really no middle ground. Okay, this is super important because this is where banks can get a little tricky. You're going to see two acronyms, APR and APY. APR is just the basic interest rate without compounding. APY is what you actually get after compounding is
Right,
factored in.
right.
So
Okay.
here's the pro tip. When you're saving, banks will shout about the high APY. When you're borrowing, they'll whisper the lower APR. If you want a true apples to apples comparison, always look at the APY. So let's bring all this into the real world because that compounding force we've been talking about can be your absolute best friend or your worst enemy. Let's look at the dark side first, debt.
The dark
Just
side.
look at how this plays out in a credit card debt spiral. It all starts with a $5,000 purchase, but then you get stuck in the minimum payment trap. And because that high interest rate is compounding against you every single day, it ends up taking over 17 years to pay off. And the final price tag? That $5,000 thing actually cost you more than $11,000.
Oof.
It's like you're running on a financial treadmill, going nowhere fast while the debt
And look at this guy, man. Is that the banker right there? Holding the wallet. It
Oh,
looks like-
yeah, the little demon dude.
yeah, it looks like the bankster.
just keeps getting bigger. Okay, so avoiding that kind of debt is obviously rule number one. But what about the other side of the coin, your savings? When you're being the landlord. Well, here's an uncomfortable truth that a lot of people miss. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, right? You look at your statement and the number goes up every month. But here's the thing.
Now, Mike, how could saving money in a savings account actually be losing you money? How could that happen? Right? Well, maybe you can lose purchasing power over time. Maybe the number in the account goes up, but what you can buy with it goes down.
Having more dollars doesn't automatically mean you're getting richer.
Right.
Think about it like this. Let's say your savings account pays you 0.5% in interest. But over that same year, the cost of everything else, we call that inflation, goes up by, say, 3%.
Uh-oh.
Well, your real return isn't positive. It's actually negative 2.5%.
This is probably the most important concept in this video so far. This whole idea of you're able to earn on your deposit, but if you're not earning a level of interest greater than the rate of inflation, then you're not even breaking even. Your real return is negative. So this concept here, Mike, what if the rate of inflation is not 3%? What if that's just the headline CPI figure? And for the goods and services you need to buy, the rate of inflation is actually closer to 10%. If that's the case, then holding your money in a savings account and earning 0.5% per year, that's the APY.
It's the opposite of interest rate arbitrage.
That's opposite. Like you're losing 9.5% per year.
Yeah.
Just, oh man, that's devastating. Imagine, leaving your money in that account for 10 years.
Or 30 years, like it keeps bringing up.
Oh, dude.
Potentially you're losing 30% of the buying power.
Probably much more than that,
Oh, I'm sure, but it's just, on average.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You're not gaining ground. Your wealth is silently shrinking. So what does that actually mean?
It means that even though the number in your bank account gets bigger, what that money can actually buy gets smaller. It buys you less gas, less food, less, well, everything. Your purchasing power
Less entertainment.
is literally draining away. And that's the quiet danger of inflation. It can make you poorer even while it looks like your savings are growing. Okay, so let's wrap all this up. What are the big things you need to walk away with? First, interest is just rent for money. Second, compound interest is an absolute beast. It creates exponential growth or crushing debt. Third, always look at the APY to see the true return. Fourth, high interest debt is an emergency. It's compounding viciously against you. And finally, be aware that most standard savings accounts are probably losing value to inflation.
Okay, so let's just pause and reflect on that concept of high interest debt being an emergency because it's compounding against you. So that's the credit card example right here. And how many people, maybe, some people on this call right now, how many of us have some of this high interest credit card debt? I know that I have some. I don't have, an exorbitant amount. It's not an emergency, but maybe it is. Maybe having any high interest debt is something that really needs to get taken care of immediately, because as we saw in that example, if you have a $5,000 purchase that you lay away on a credit card, right? Let's say you've got a $10,000 limit on your card, you buy something for $5,000, but you're paying 20% APY. That's compounding. That's compounding.
So, and how often does it compound? Is it monthly? Is it weekly? Daily?
No,
what is it?
I think it's. I don't know. It's going to be in the terms. All that.
I'm guessing it's monthly. Just because. That's usually when the interest clicks is every 30 days or once a month.
I would guess the same exact thing, but here's the thing though. Even though I would guess that it would be monthly, I think they probably compound it daily, because
sometimes it feels that way. In the past when I've had credit card debt, it seems like if you're not making substantial payments above the minimum, you're basically, you're not getting anywhere.
You're just treading water. And, a 20% APY credit card is just kind of normal for many borrowers who don't have perfect credit. You can easily see credit cards with a 30% APY, like 30% APY. So that means that $5,000 purchase, by the time you pay it off, it's going to take 20 years to pay it off. And you're going to end up paying 3 times more than what you bought it for. So, man, that is really a trap. But think about how powerful that is when it works in your favor. So, now that we understand a little bit about APY and compounding and how it can work viciously against you, now flip the script and think about how that can work in your favor by taking, a sum of money, throwing it on a money market. And maybe if you're able to earn 10%, that's great. Apply a little bit of leverage to it and you can get up to 20% real quick. So yeah, this is really, really dangerous when it works against you, but extremely powerful when it works for you.
In the end, after all of this, it really just comes down to one simple question you have to ask yourself. Now that you understand how this hidden force works, you get to choose. Is your money going to work hard to build your future or someone else's?
Awesome. It's going to work to build our future. Let's see. Lesson 7, bank fees explained. So this will be an interesting one. The hotel minibar effect. Okay. This is pretty cool. The fee menu. Wow, look at this. Yeah, all sorts of fees. Myke, what do you know about these fees, man? Monthly maintenance, overdraft, ATM.
Yeah.
Well, this is bullshit. This is like,
it's all to use your own money.
Yeah, man, and none of these fees exist in DeFi. There's no monthly maintenance fee for your your Ethereum account.
Maintenance of what? It's
Right.
it's ones and zeros on a screen on a computer database. It's like, what are you maintaining?
And the overdraft fees, oh my goodness, so annoying, because even if you lock your card, even if you try to turn off the card, sometimes these charges will go through anyway. So that
Well, and
the
it doesn't matter if it's $1 or if it's $10,000, it's still the same overdraft fee. I mean, you can go over by 50 cents and then, they're going to charge you that, 25 or $35 or whatever.
Oh my goodness, man. There have been times in my life where I had overdraft fees of like, 5 overdraft fees. And like the charges were like $3, $5, $10, like several of them. But every single charge is another overdraft fee. So you got $20 in charges, but you've got $150 in overdraft fees. It's just ridiculous. That doesn't exist in DeFi. The ATM fees, you ever go to an ATM and you withdraw $100, but you're withdrawing it at an ATM that's like not in network, or maybe you're at a gas station.
Yeah.
You pay $5 to withdraw $100.
Yeah.
5%. What if you just wanted to withdraw $20? $5 on $20, that's a 25% fee. That's crazy. And then these wire transfer fees, like, why does it cost $40 to send money same day to another account domestically? Why? That makes no sense. So all of this stuff is antiquated, and I think it just amounts to, some type of theft. Like this, there's no reason for any of this. So let's move on here. The math of being poor.
The math of being poor.
Economists have a saying, it's expensive to be poor. Banking perfectly illustrates this. If you have money, minimum balances are easy, overdrafts don't happen, you can wait for free ATMs, and banks compete for your business. These things are all true. If you don't have money, every week is a minefield of potential fees. Dude, I know what that's like. One unexpected expense can cascade into multiple overdrafts. I was just describing that. And minimum balances are impossible to maintain. That's so true. It is expensive to be poor, and they actually charge you money for being poor.
Yeah. They're charging people that don't have money fees, overdraft fees and, things like that. It's like, okay.
And none of that exists in crypto and DeFi. It's just a matter of building the skill set to be able to operate in crypto and DeFi confidently so that you don't get wrecked, so that you don't wreck yourself. So let's learn about the hidden costs of banking.
We all think our bank is there to keep our money safe, right? But what if the bank itself is the biggest threat to your savings? In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on all those hidden fees that are just quietly draining your account, and more importantly, show you exactly how to put a stop to them. You know that feeling? You check into a hotel, you open that little fridge, and you just laugh at the $8 bottle of water. Like, who would ever pay that? But then it's 2 a.m., you're parched, and there it is. That's exactly how bank fees work. They get you in those moments of convenience when you're just not paying close attention.
Yeah, we're calling this the hotel minibar effect. See, each little fee is designed to be small enough that you just brush it off, but they're all strategically designed for when your guard is down. The big difference here, though, with the minibar, you at least have to open the door and grab the water. With the bank, they just reach right into your account and take it. You don't have to do a thing.
Yeah, because as we learned, yesterday and the day before, it's not actually your account. It's just, numbers on a screen. You have an IOU. You don't actually own anything. The bank does.
All right, so let's crack open this hidden fee menu, shall we? It's time to really see what you might be paying for without even knowing it.
Okay, first up, the monthly maintenance fee. This is literally the bank charging you just for the privilege of letting them hold on to your money.
Oh, dude, what a scam. What a scam. And what service are they providing that isn't provided better in DeFi now? Nothing. I don't see it.
We're talking anywhere from $5 to $25 a month. And the crazy part is, so many of us just see it on our statement and think, oh, that's normal. But here's the thing.
Nope.
It really, really isn't.
But this is where your jaw might drop a little. Let's say it's just a $12 a month fee. Doesn't sound like a lot, right? But that's over $140 a year. Now zoom out. Over 40 years, that's almost $6,000. Poof, gone from your account. And for what?
Right.
For absolutely nothing. And now for the big one, the main event, the overdraft fee.
The main event.
This one is sneaky. You're a few bucks short, so the bank helpfully covers you on a small purchase.
And then if you tell the bank, hey, I don't want you to ever like cover me for a small
Yeah,
purchase.
like deny the transaction.
And they tell you, nah, we're not going to,
Nah, we got you.
nah, we can't actually, you know what? We can't do that. It's, we have to allow it to go through. Like, dude, yeah, so frustrating.
And then,
Well,
bam!
and it's not like it stops with one. If you have like 4 or 5, it will let all of them go through and charge you for each of them. And as soon as money hits your account, your direct deposit, they're going to take all that money that they covered plus each one of the instances a fee.
And then try talking to customer service about it. Good
Yeah.
luck with that.
Yeah.
If they even speak English.
Yeah.
Stop you with this huge fee for the favor. They call it a service. You know what it really is? It's one of their biggest money makers.
It's a scam.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Just look at how absurd this gets. Let's say you buy a $4 coffee, but you overdraft. The bank slaps on a $35 fee. All of a sudden, you've just paid $39 for a single cup of coffee. I mean, think about that for a second. The penalty is nearly 10 times the price of the actual thing you bought. It's a system that just punishes tiny mistakes with massive consequences. Oh, and let's not forget the good old ATM fee.
The good old ATM fees.
My bank actually doesn't charge these because they don't have branches. And so they actually reimburse me any ATM fees that I incur. So that's cool, but still.
Yeah, that is cool. This shouldn't be charged at all.
Yeah.
The fee you pay to get access to your own money.
Exactly.
But the real kicker here is the double dip. When you use an ATM that's not your bank's, the ATM owner charges you a fee.
Right.
And then your own bank often turns around and charges you another fee for the crime of using a different machine. It's wild.
Yeah.
And this chart really lays it all out. You want to take out 40 bucks, your own money, from the wrong machine. Okay, that'll be $3 for the ATM owner, and another $3 for your bank. That's a $6 charge. You basically just paid a 15% tax to get your own cash.
Isn't that crazy? And imagine if you were just withdrawing 20 bucks, like you just wanted 20 bucks and you had to pay like, $6 in fees. All of a sudden, it's a 25%, a little bit more than that tax. That's crazy. Even if you're withdrawing $100, it's still a 6% tax, or maybe a little bit less than that, but it shouldn't be any. It's just obscene.
I mean, would you ever be okay with a 15% tax on anything else you own? No way.
Well, I mean, some people like to say, oh, you got to pay your fair share. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's theft, man.
So, you see, these fees, they're not just little annoyances that pop up here and there. When you put them all together, they paint a much bigger and frankly much more troubling picture. They create a system where it is literally expensive to be poor. It's a concept people call the math of being poor. And banking, well, it's one of the most powerful examples of it in action. I mean, look at this. It really shows the two completely different realities of banking. If you have a high balance, the bank rolls out the red carpet for you. Fees get waived, you get rewards, perks, the whole deal. But if your balance is low, whoa, it's like you're navigating a financial minefield.
So I'll never forget it. The first time I went with a family member to a Citibank account or a Citibank branch here in Florida, actually, this was like 15 years ago. I went with a family member, a very wealthy family member, to the Citibank branch. I'll never forget the way that he was treated there. It was like, yes, Your Highness. Oh, would you like? Yes, let me rub your feet, Your Highness. It was so amazing, man. It was like you got treated like royalty. And for me, when I went into a bank branch, it was like, the fuck do you want? They're like angry. They didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want me there. Just completely different.
Well, can you imagine? I mean, if he has like $1 million or a couple of $1 million, how much money they're making off him having, keeping his money there?
Yeah. It just, the entire experience was completely different. It was like, you have the red carpet rolled out. Any product you could possibly want is available to you, and they want to help you, and they're friendly. But for little old me going to a bank branch, it was like, they didn't want me there. and they were rude, and like I didn't have access to any products, so I couldn't really do anything. And everything was like the fees were like a large portion of the balance that I had. So I remember what that was like. And the beauty of crypto and DeFi is that it democratizes everything. It removes all of that. There's no bank branch that you got to go into, and you don't have to deal with a teller. You don't have to be judged by the banker there, telling you, oh, well, you know what? I think that you should go for the free account because you're poor. Like, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's so much better working in crypto and DeFi than it is in DeFi. So much better.
Every single transaction carries a risk, and one tiny slip-up can trigger this cascade of fee after fee.
Right.
The bottom line is, the system is basically set up to squeeze the most money out of the people who have the least.
Okay, just look at this number for a second.
I think it's set up to squeeze the most out of the middle class. So like the people who have the least, for the most part, don't even have money in any bank account, right? Very, very little. And it squeezes them like by the largest percentage amount. But I think that these products, these TradFi products, these bank account products are designed to just squeeze the middle class because that's where all the money is. Like the upper class, like they don't necessarily like care about these fees, but the middle class does. And I think it squeezes them the hardest.
$15.47 billion. Just let that sink in. Any guesses what that is? That number? That's how much Americans paid in overdraft fees in just 1 year. We're talking nearly $15.5 billion, basically vacuumed right out of the bank accounts of the people who could least afford it and dropped straight into the pockets of the banks.
Did they say $15 billion a year in overdraft fees? Is that what the video content just said? $15.47 billion a year in overdraft fees. My goodness, man. Imagine if that was refunded to, Americans. That would almost be like a stimulus check. That's crazy.
Yeah. Just let that sink in. Any guesses what that is? That number? That's how much Americans paid in overdraft fees in just 1 year. We're talking nearly $15.5 billion, basically vacuumed right out of the bank accounts of the people who could least afford it and dropped straight into the pockets of the banks.
And you know what? It doesn't even stop there. Beyond the obvious stuff like overdrafts and ATM fees, there's a whole other layer of charges. These are the stealth fees, the ones hiding in plain sight, buried deep in that fine print that, let's be honest, none of us ever.
Hey, and you know what's beautiful about crypto and DeFi? There's no fine print. None.
No.
None.
It's very, very, very clean, very straightforward.
It's transparent. It's easy.
Read. Like, did you know that using your card on vacation could be quietly adding a 3% foreign transaction fee to every single purchase?
Right.
Or how about that old savings account you haven't touched in a while? Yep, it could be shrinking every month because of an inactivity fee. And get this one's my favorite. Some banks for closing your account, for leaving them. It's unbelievable.
Okay. I know this all sounds pretty bleak, but here's the good news, and this is the most important part of this whole thing. You are not powerless here. Not at all. This is a game, and it's a game you can absolutely win. So it's time to take back control, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it. All right, here's your playbook. Step 1, shop around. Seriously, there are tons of online banks and credit unions out there now with way, way lower.
Okay, so this is definitely true. But in the United States, you've got the bulge bracket banks. So you've got the big banks, right? You got JP Morgan Chase, you got Bank of America, you got Wells Fargo, you got Citibank, you got US Bank, and then you got, a handful of others, right? Mm-hmm. But those big five, you're going to see them everywhere. But if you shop around, you will be able to find better products out there, but not by much because you're still operating in the same antiquated environment of TradFi. So yeah, shop around all you want, but you're still stuck as a slave in that matrix. And, you can set up all the alerts that you want, but if you're using these TradFi banking products, then sometimes it doesn't matter if you have your card blocked or locked or you cancel a transaction. Sometimes none of that matters. They'll still let it go through anyway. And then good luck getting your money back when you call customer service. And so using your own network, yeah, well, what happens when you travel? Maybe you won't be able to use your own network. So you can only use your network within a small region. And, keeping a buffer, this is very, very difficult for many people. What if you just don't have it? Then this isn't even an option. And then asking for a waiver, yeah, good luck with that. Ask them to waive their fees. That's their business model.
Get a tactful fuck you.
I know, right? Yeah, so could you please waive the fees, sir? No, fuck you. It's like, it's crazy, man. These
Fees.
banks.
Step 2, let technology be your friend. Set up low balance alerts on your phone so you get a heads up before you overdraft. Step 3, beat the ATM game.
Or you know what you could do? You could just throw all this away in the garbage and you could start using crypto and DeFi instead.
Plan ahead, or even better, find a bank that actually reimburses those fees. Step 4, keep a small buffer in your account. Even an extra $50 can be a total lifesaver. And last, but definitely not least, my favorite tip, just ask. If you get hit with a fee, call the bank and ask them to waive it. What have you got to lose? You'd be absolutely shocked how often they just say yes.
Yeah, so sometimes they do, but you've got to go through the rigmarole of picking up the phone, calling the 800 number, waiting online, talking to a machine at first. Finally, you get through to a human. The first human tells you no. The second human tells you yes. And then you got to wait for that reimbursement to come through. And by the time it's all said and done, you spent 30 minutes of your time to get $20 back. So it's very, very frustrating.
Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to one thing. Your most powerful weapon in all of this is knowledge. The second you understand how these fees work and why you're being charged, you can start making smart moves to sidestep them completely. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. Tonight, or right now if you can, pull up your last bank statement, hunt down the fees section, and ask yourself this simple question. Am I paying for the privilege of accessing my own money? And if the answer is yes, I want you to pick just one thing from that action plan we just talked about and decide you're going to do it tomorrow. It's time to start taking your money back.
I agree. But the best way to take your money back is to exit this system entirely. That's the best way to take your money back. And so, let's just take a second here, Myke, and let's take a look at, these neobanks, right? Let's take a look at DeFi just as an example here. So there's several of them. This is my favorite, okay? This is what I live my life off of DeFi and a handful of other neobanks, but I use DeFi quite a bit. And this is just basically a replacement for a TradFi bank account. And it gives you issues, a Visa card that you can use to withdraw cash from anywhere in the world. You can use it to buy products and services, anywhere. This is, you can fund this with crypto. You can, there are products that they offer in DeFi that allow you to create, really, really nice interest rate ARBs. And you get cash back on every purchase. So, I get 3% cash back on every purchase. So that's pretty cool. This stuff is, open source. You can essentially earn on your checking account 7%. Okay. So this is, again, these are unique products. This is what's referred to as a neobank. So this type of yield on your checking account is unheard of. If you have a TradFi bank account, you'd be lucky to earn any interest on your checking balance. And then on your savings account, you would be very lucky to earn even as much as 3%, maybe 4% if you've got like some amazing checking account or a savings account or something. But over here on DeFi, anyone who has a crypto wallet can deposit into their liquid product. They have a liquid USD product that is currently earning somewhere around 7%. So, if we take a look at liquid, this is, a product suite where you can deposit into these liquid vaults. And so if I just take a look at this real quick, I don't want to really check in on my account, but on ETH, okay, great, 4.76%. Their USD vault is paying almost 7% APY. So remember, this compounds. And the beauty of this is you can deposit into this liquid strategy vault, earn 7% on your deposit, and then you can borrow against that deposit to spend in real life. So if you're earning 7% on your checking, but whenever you buy something, you're borrowing against this balance and spending, you're paying 4% APY to borrow, well, then all of a sudden you've got a 3-point spread. And that 3-point spread is on a 20% of the balance. So it creates like a forced savings account that earns a couple of points in interest. And that actually pays off all of your purchases over time. So it becomes almost like a reverse credit card. So let me just go through that one more time. If you earn 7% on your checking, and then when you go to buy something, you don't have 100% of the spending power. You have 80% of the spending power. So you're earning 7% on your checking balance. Let's say that you got $1,000 in there. If you want to go and buy something, well, your spending power, you can buy up to $800 of goods and services. They allow you to spend, it's at 80% LTV. So you can borrow up to $800 against your US dollar deposit that's earning 7%. And when you borrow, you're paying 4%. So you've got a 3-point spread on that difference between what you supplied and what you borrowed. And so now you're earning 3% APY on that balance, which if you borrowed the entire $800, it's a $200 balance. And so over time, I ran the math on this, a 3-point spread, it takes like almost 80 months to pay off the entire purchase amount just with interest. But let that sink in for a second. Yeah, 80 months is a long time, many, many years, but it's a reverse credit card. So everything that you buy is forcing you to save 20%. So you save 20 cents on the dollar. So, all of these like gurus that talk about saving and building wealth, they all talk about, hey, you know what? For every dollar that you spend, you should probably save 10 or 20 cents of it. And this forces you to do that. So you save 20 cents of every dollar that you spend, and you earn 3 points on every single one of those dollars that you save. So that's pretty darn cool, man. And that doesn't exist anywhere else. There are a couple of other products here. Let me show you another example of one. If we take a look at Swipe, this is super cool because this is like actually very decentralized. It's built with this Brahma SDK. And I've actually been thinking about building something with this SDK here because this is, it's open source. Anyone can build with it. But Swipe is super cool. So let me see if I can just connect here. I think I can just sign in with my passkey here, and we'll be able to check this out. So now passkey sign in failed. I think it probably wants me to sign in with a wallet. But this is such a cool decentralized protocol because what it allows you to do is create your own interest rate arbitrage and then spend in real life against it. So what you do is you deposit assets onto either the base chain or hyper EVM, and you use either Aave or you can use Euler, or on hyper EVM, I think you can use Hyperbeat. And so you deposit onto one of these 3 money markets on one of those 2 chains, either base or hyper EVM. And then you're earning, some rate of return on your deposit. And then you tell the card here, so Swipe uses this Brahma SDK to issue you a Visa card. So you tell the card, hey, you know what? This is the Aave deposit that I want you to borrow against. And this is the amount that you're allowed to borrow. So if you deposit $100, then that gets connected to your Visa card. And then you tell it, hey, you know what? I want you to be able to borrow $50 against that 100. And so when you go to buy something in real life and swipe your Visa card, it's going to automatically borrow against your Aave deposit and spend that in real life. And so you can create your own custom interest rate arbitrage using Swipe.fun, just like you can do over here on DeFi with the USD yield product. So nice. Really, really cool stuff, man. And, this just does not exist in TradFi. In fact, no. exact opposite. Like,
Yeah.
like you don't earn on what you buy in TradFi.
Well, it happens in a way that they're the ones that are profiting. They're doing their little DeFi DeFi tricks to basically profit off our money. DeFi flips the script and makes it to where we can earn on our money.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And, literally anyone can build using these tools too. So this SDK over here, this Brahma SDK, like, I've thought about how I could use this to build my own product, because the limitation of Swipe is that I can't use any PTs. So if I wanted to like maybe use a Pendle product, so let me just and I know that we're getting a little bit more advanced here on today's call, but I think that this is really cool. So
No,
check this.
it's important to understand.
Yeah, so this is really, really cool. So imagine if, I wanted to deposit into this PT. So USDAI is not a low risk product, okay? This is, they refer to this as a stable coin, but
we actually talked in great depth about this on yesterday's masterclass with Jake.
yeah, we did. And, so this particular product, they refer to these as stable coins, but they're really not. They're much more like, wrapped strategy tokens that are pegged to one. So, they call them stable coins, but they're not. So
Well, and the detail of those assets that comprise this token I was not impressed with what the
right?
way that it maintains its value.
Yeah, so you've really got to dig into what this thing is. Okay, but let's say that you understand what this is, you understand the risk that you're taking, you're okay with that risk, you're willing to accept that risk.
When you first get involved in DeFi, your best bet is stick with USDT and USDC.
It really is. It really is. But for me, and I want to use this SDK to build my own custom product where I can issue myself a Visa card and then, borrow against a Pendle PT like this. So check this out. If I were to use that Brahma SDK to create that custom product, just like Swipe, then I could use a PT like this as my collateral. So if I use a PT like this as my collateral and I deposit it here on Euler, then if I'm earning on my collateral, if I go to charts here, if I'm earning, let me just go to, let's see, I don't want to look at market info. Let me just hit refresh here. And let's take a look at not the watermark rate. I'm looking for APY. There it is. So this is the fixed yield that you earn on this. These are essentially zero coupon bonds. So this is a zero coupon bond that's like a wrapped version of USDAI. It earns a fixed 12.6%. That's great, right? But if I deposit that as collateral over here on Euler, and then when I spend in real life, if I borrow at 5.33% against my collateral, which is earning 12.6%, then all of a sudden I've got a really nice spread. If I borrow at the max LTV on Euler against that PT, then I could actually end up earning up to 63% on the difference between what I deposited as collateral and what I borrowed and spent in real life. So if you just let that sink in for a second, that's like a reverse credit card. So what you would do is let's say you've got $1,000, right? And you deposit it into this PT, you swap into this PT, and then you take the PT, you deposit it on Euler, and then you connect that PT on Euler to your new card that you built using that Brahma SDK. And then you say, hey, you know what? I've got this Visa, it's connected to this PT on Euler, and I've got $1,000 in the PT, which means I've got maybe $800 in buying power. I want to go and I want to buy something for $800. You buy that thing for $800. Now you've got a $200 balance on Euler earning 63%. Pretty darn cool. And for the next 48 days too. So these mature. So this is, like this is the way that I'm thinking about this. What can I build with these different products? What can I build with this SDK? What can
Well, and that's the great thing about DeFi is, I mean, you really can get very creative about, kind of, building out a portfolio or building out these strategies to accomplish your financial goals. Whereas the traditional banking system, you're very, very limited.
Yeah,
It's
like look at this, Mike. Like not even you're so limited, but you can't even operate 24/7. Like, you know, like forget about the products. You can't even like the banks close at like, like you go there at 4 p.m. and they're gone. So
Yeah, I
like
mean, if it's a holiday, if it's a weekend, they have that joke where they call it, having banker's hours.
I
It's
know,
like they open at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and then they're closed by like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It's like,
right? They're only there like, a couple hours a day and not on the weekends usually, or maybe they close at noon on like Saturday if you're lucky. And then like you remember during the pandemic, they closed like every bank branch. So like you couldn't even go to a bank. Just horrible. And these new crypto and DeFi products completely eliminate all of this nonsense. And when you start to like build software, like you can use these SDKs to build your own stuff. Super cool, super cool. And just not possible in the TradFi matrix. So we've got 12 minutes left, Mike. I want to learn about the gatekeepers of time so that I can just become even more angry at traditional banks. Let's do that.
Have you ever stopped to think about this? We live in a world that is completely 24/7. You can order food at 3 a.m., you can stream pretty much any movie you want, you can talk to anyone on the other side of the planet instantly. But our money? Our money seems to be stuck in a totally different time zone, one that's permanently on a 9 to 5 schedule. Oh man, we have all heard this message, right? It's Friday.
It's not even 9 to 5 anymore. It's more like 10 to 4. If you're lucky, it's 10 to 4. It depends on the bank.
Friday night, maybe 8 p.m., you see some weird charge on your bank account, you call up, and you get this. Your money doesn't sleep, your financial anxiety definitely doesn't take the weekend off, but the whole system controlling it all, yeah, it's clocked out. It's just a universally frustrating part of modern life. And that really brings us to the core mystery we're going to unravel today. In an age where everything is instant, why does sending money feel like you're sending a physical letter through snail mail?
Because they do that intentionally so that the banks can charge on the float.
I mean, if it's all just ones and zeros, where's the holdup? Let's get into it.
The holdup is structural. It's baked into the system, and it's done that way so that they can earn yield on that time.
Really get this, we have to pull back the curtain on the whole banking system. And it turns out there are some really old, really stubborn reasons why your money takes the scenic route instead of the superhighway. Let's break down the main culprits. All right, first on the list, legacy systems. And you've got to understand, many of the world's biggest, most important banks are running on software that was built 30, 40, in some cases even 50 years ago.
So, Mike, remember the other day I was talking about Cobalt, that programming language from literally like 1970?
yeah.
There are a lot of banks that run like their databases using Cobalt, man. Like one of my friends from high school, guy named Fred, his father is in his early 80s now, but he worked up through his 70s, up until he was 80, as a software developer. But the programming languages that he knew are like ancient, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why he still had work up
Well,
until
I'm sure there's a very small group of people that even know, how to maintain those antiquated systems.
Yeah, man, that's exactly right. So, this guy who's got this, knowledge from like literally when he was a younger man in the 70s, he's still able to apply that today or recently because these banks still run on that crap.
Well, I mean, think of it as a language, I mean, like, imagine if, like Aramaic. Oh, that's not a good example. There's
But
still,
it's like a dead language almost.
yeah, and imagine if you're the only one who knows how to read, Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a skill set that it's like, yeah, it's, long dead language, but, you're able to interpret it. So anytime anybody wants to, read, ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, they're going to call you. So
Right. Yeah, it's just that this is what is running our banking system. Like, make that make sense, you know?
This is code that was written for a world that didn't even have the internet as we know it, let alone smartphones in every pocket. So, because these old systems were never designed for real-time instant action, they rely on this thing called batch processing.
Is that a pile of shit?
that's what I'm wondering. A batch of what?
A batch of doo-doo.
A batch of shit.
Yeah, man.
The best way to think about it is this. Instead of handling your transaction the moment you make it, the bank just collects all of the day's transactions and throws them into one giant digital pile. Then, late at night when businesses
One giant steaming pile.
Digital pile.
closed, it finally gets around to processing them all at once. And it's not just your bank's own ancient system. When money has to move between different banks, it travels through these huge networks that connect everyone, like the Automated Clearinghouse or ACH. Think of it as the central plumbing for all electronic payments.
So you could think of these as individual chains. Each one of these banks is like its individual own chain.
Yeah.
And then the ACH or SWIFT, that would be like the inter-chain messaging protocol. Something like, what's a really famous bridge, Myke? Like zero.
Golden Gate Bridge?
No, like a DeFi bridge.
I mean, you got
Layer
D
zero,
Bridge.
D
D Bridge
bridge.
is a big one.
Yeah, these interchain messaging protocols. ACH is kind of like a really crappy bridge. And if you've ever sent money,
Really shitty bridge full of
just-
potholes and, it's
steaming
I
piles
know.
of crap everywhere.
yeah.
You're just trying to
terrible.
avoid the holes in the bridge as you're crossing. Like for anyone who is crypto or DeFi native and has used bridges over the last couple of years, dude, several years ago, sending an asset to another chain using a bridge, that could be a terrifying experience because it would take forever. Sometimes it would be expensive. There were a lot of exploits. Sometimes your assets wouldn't land or wouldn't land properly. So that has all been solved, but you could think of ACH almost like, just like a really crappy bridge. That's basically what it is.
And historically, that plumbing has only been turned on during, yep, you guessed it, standard banking hours. Now, from the bank's perspective,
Right.
there is logic to all this slowness. Grouping transactions into big batches makes it way easier and honestly cheaper to verify everything, to catch fraud, and to make sure all the numbers add up at the end of the day. Doing all of that in real time would require a completely different and
So whenever someone says to catch fraud, I just kind of I shrug it off because, dude, like the stuff that's going on in Minnesota and like all of these like massive frauds, it just makes me think that they're not actually interested in catching fraud.
It's all about control. It's
Yeah,
and
I
they
agree.
use emotion. They use emotion and fear and things like that to justify it. It's the same thing with
Exactly.
TSA. And things like
Exactly
that.
right.
Is
Yeah, man. So when I was going through TSA, a week and a half ago, I hadn't been on a plane in a long time. So the last time I was on a plane, they make you take off your jacket and your shoes and all
yeah,
this shit. But this time going through TSA, I didn't have to take off my shoes. I did take off my jacket. I didn't have to take my laptop out of my backpack. Like all of the random arbitrary stuff that I used to have to do. They were like, "Oh no, you keep your shoes on." I'm like, "Okay," So no, it's just all make believe. And whenever I hear people talk about fraud and KYC AML, I just think to myself, that is just a means of control. I don't
Yeah.
think that they actually catch fraud with that at all. Maybe they do, but it seems like the vast majority of it gets through anyway.
way
exactly.
more expensive kind of infrastructure. And finally, you have regulation. Banking is one of the most heavily regulated industries on the planet, for good reason. But that means any change to these core systems, no matter how old they are, requires enormous amounts of testing, compliance checks, and approval from regulators.
And this is a bunch of bullshit too, because how much did all this regulation help during 2006, 2007, and then 2008? Like,
Yeah.
did all this regulation really stop these banks from giving loans to people who didn't have jobs? Like,
No.
no. They had ninja loans back then.
Well, those that don't know what he's talking about, that it's what caused the housing collapse in 2008. It was basically they were giving government-backed housing loans to people that didn't have the credit or the employment to justify those loans. So basically, they were buying homes they couldn't afford.
Yeah, they
And
call them no income, no job. So ninja.
and then they were bundling those bad loans together with a couple of good ones to
And then they slapped AAA ratings on them.
Yeah.
And then sold those bonds all around the world when really the bonds contained a big steaming pile of doo-doo. There was nothing AAA about them. So whenever I hear like, oh, it's so regulated, well, okay, but what if the regulators are captured? Then it doesn't matter. You can write all the rules in the world that you want, but if the regulators are actually captured, then it doesn't really matter. So yeah, these regulations obviously didn't protect the average American in 2007 and 2008. And will they today? I'm dubious as to whether they actually are useful. That's why we need code is law. That's what we need. We need to transition to DeFi where everything is verifiable on a public chain and code is law. Then all of a sudden, the regulators no longer have a place in this new financial system. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Replace all this regulation with a smart contract, with verifiable code on a public ledger. That's what I want.
So the incentive is often to just move very, very slowly and not break what's already working, even if it's super inefficient. Okay, so we've covered the big abstract reasons, but what does this actually look like for your money? Let's follow a single transaction on its typical long weekend journey. Let's walk through this. It's Friday, 8 p.m. You hit send on a payment to your friend. As far as you're concerned, it's done. But in reality, your request just entered a digital waiting room. It sits there doing nothing all weekend. Then, Monday morning, your bank finally submits the request to the network. It gets processed in one of those batches sometime between Monday and Wednesday, and boom, your friend finally sees the money Wednesday afternoon. What felt instant to you was actually a 5-day ordeal.
How many times have you gone through this, Myke? Now, things are a little bit better in TradFi now, but dude.
It's terrible. And it was why I was, just, again, when that light bulb came off when I got into crypto, that, I can put my liquidity into stable coins or crypto or whatever, and I can send it instantly around the world to anybody, and they have access to it. They can do whatever they want with it. They can swap it or whatever. They can even turn it back into whatever fiat currency that they want. So yeah, it was a massive light bulb for me.
Absolutely, man. Well, a good call starts and ends on time.
It does. We need to make a note of the time on that video so that we can pick up where we left off.
Yeah, man. So I think that was lesson 8, 3 minutes in.
All right.
So for tomorrow, we'll start back off right there.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna go and start putting some stuff together for tonight's Red Pill episode. If you wanna join us, it's
yeah. What time?
It's your time. It would be. I mean, we can move it up, but your time it'd be 9 p.m.
9 p.m. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it today. It depends. So I'm supposed to be meeting with a gentleman on the other side of the world where the time zone is, he's 12 hours ahead. So that call for me is supposed to take place at the same time as the Red Pill tonight. So if that happens, I won't be able to make it. If the call doesn't happen, I will be able to make it. We'll see.
All right. I'll send you a link. If you pop in, cool. If not, that's cool too.
Awesome, man. I appreciate your time, Myke. And thanks everyone.
I appreciate yours, brother. And everybody out there, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Veteran
Peace.
Crypto out.